members of Uzbek delegation, representatives of our media partners, especially the Brussels Press Club. Very warm welcome from the Embassy of Uzbekistan, and basically on behalf of the Uzbek delegation, headed by Eldor Tulyakov, good friend of mine, and Executive Director for the Development Strategy Center of Uzbekistan. Today is a rather very important event for us. I will shortly pass the word to Mr. Eldor Tulyakov, but let me say words of appreciation to the Brussels Press Club, which became over the years our good media partner, providing the floor for the open and sometimes uneasy talks, and giving the opportunity to explain the recent policies of New Uzbekistan under the leadership of our President, His Excellency Shavkat Mirziyoyev. I'm not going to take the floor, and without any other further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Eldor Tulyakov. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. We are very much pleased to talk to you about the latest news happening in Uzbekistan. Therefore, would like to thank the Brussels Club for their cooperation with that regard. We are here as a delegation of the Republic of Uzbekistan, consisting of the members of the think tanks, of the leading think tanks from Uzbekistan. Then there are some other government officials in our delegation who really closely work with the think tanks and support us. You might probably know that Uzbekistan had presidential elections last year, in October. After these presidential elections, our president has started his next phase of reforms based on the development strategy of New Uzbekistan for the next 5 years. And here today, we are here in Brussels to first of all tell those policymakers, those who do research on Uzbekistan, about the key points of this very important for Uzbekistan document. And we are here to find possible cooperation links, maybe cooperation areas for us later to cooperate on variety of aspects, on variety of directions. So we really hope that after this presentation you will have more information about the new latest rapid changes happening in Uzbekistan, and we really hope that with your help we will be able to find potential partners and friends of Uzbekistan who would do more on Uzbekistan, who would do more in Uzbekistan in variety of aspects, including business, including cultural issues, including social projects. Next slide, please. In the next slide, main 7 priority areas of the current strategy of Uzbekistan are identified. These are the main priorities that Uzbekistan will be carrying out reforms. And I should note that these priority areas have derived their roots from the opinions of people, from the previous experience when Uzbekistan was implementing the strategy of actions. So the cornerstone of these directions and the upcoming reforms are, of course, the strategy of actions that Uzbekistan implemented last 5 years. That's why we have a motto saying from the strategy of actions to the development strategy. So as you can see, the first direction consists that talks about the building a people state by elevating human dignity and the furtherance of a civil society. The second priority area is the rule of law, human rights issues. Third one is rapid economic development. Fourth one is social protection and human capital development. The fifth one is ensuring the elevation of spiritual values. This is a very new direction of the current strategy, because in the previous strategy it was in one of the previous directions. So considering the latest changes in the world, latest this information, maybe environment, this has become another separate important direction of the current strategy. The sixth priority area is again very important. A new one in this strategy is approaching the global challenges through the lens of our national interests. And the seventh one is to strengthen the security and defense potential of our country, pursuing an open, pragmatic, and effective foreign policy. So the first priority area, let me very briefly tell you about what we are expecting during this upcoming 5 years. Of course, we should know that talking about this important document takes more time, but we will very briefly tell you about the main key points of this important document. First, what we should note in this first priority direction is that the state is going to go ahead with carrying out reforms from the very bottom level. We call it mahalla level. So that's why the state is establishing several institutions which will carry out further reforms from the very bottom level, so that people can really feel the changes, be it economic, be it social, be it educational, be it many other aspects. That's why we are here. We can see that improving the efficiency, the institution of mahalla is considered as a priority. What we mean by that is that the state is willing to strengthen first the financial capacity of mahalla institution, because people are raising some issues which need financial support at the very bottom level. Therefore, government is willing to give more finances to the very low level, so that issues or maybe problems which may occur are resolved at the bottom level, so that it is done very quickly, rather than bringing it up to the ministry level or cabinet level. So that's why the government is willing to strengthen the capacity of mahalla. Plus, government is planning to give more authority to the chairmen of mahalla. We call it mahalla raisa, so that they are able directly to contact those public authorities who are responsible for changing, who are responsible for solving certain specific issues at the site. Then, of course, another important issue is the transforming councils of people's deputies into integral entity responsible for resolving regional issues, local parliament. So government, the state, is willing to strengthen the role of local parliaments. What we mean is that when certain decisions at the regional level are taken, what the state wants is that it should first be approved by the local parliament. So whenever they are adopting a social program, economic problem, it shouldn't be based on the, let's say, on the opinion of only specific people, based on certain interests, for example. The state wants to be the state wants the local parliament to approve whether or not it is based on the common interest of the region. Therefore, even if they want to build a school, even if they want to build another social infrastructure, of course they should be first consulted with the parliament, and only after that local governing bodies will start the project. And after the completion of the project, of course, they have to report back to the local parliament on the completion of the project. The next important area is building, for example, a compact, professional, fair, high-performance public administration system. So that's why the state is willing to carry out further administrative reforms, specifically state who is responsible for what, and if there are, let's say, responsibilities shared between separate or different ministries, then of course it will be reviewed, so that one specific ministry or agency is responsible for a specific topic, so that if there is a problem, if there is an issue that needs to be resolved, people and other officials so that they know who is responsible for what, so that they take measures on time. And the next important area is strengthening the role of the parliament, the Oli Majlis. What we mean is that, for example, because of these digitalization processes, state is willing to introduce electronic parliament system, which will allow, first of all, to communicate to the constituencies directly online. So, of course, it will increase the efficiency. And the next important issue, parliamentarians will be able to address those issues, problems raised by people to the relevant public officials. And then very importantly, they will be able to control the success of the implementation or resolution of a certain issue within this, with the help of this electronic parliamentary system. Then another very important aspect of reforms is digitalization, as we mentioned. That's why the development of an e-government system that increases the share of e-government system to 100%. Currently, it's 56%. So the state wants to digitalize all these services so that people can get these state services easily without any problems, be it in the very remote area of Uzbekistan, at any time of the year. And of course, this is to the main aim is of course to providing comfort for people first. Then of course eliminating human factor at places so that people can get these services without any bias, without any barriers. This is very important, and people have started enjoying this process. Then another important area is developing effective mechanisms for communication with the public. When state started implementation of the strategy of actions, the previous strategic document, one of the main priorities was dialogue with people. So as a result of this, government officials of different level, be it regional, be it Republican, be it district level, they started communicating with people. They started implementation of the accountability principle. So they started reporting back to the people, to the society, on their successes, on their failures of their works. Therefore, this strategy foresees the expansion of this institute by, as we said, increasing the effectiveness of mechanisms with the public. So now there will be even more and more aspects that regional, all level of government officials needs to report to the society, including the local parliaments. Another important area in this is improving the organizational and legal framework for effective public oversight. So this process has also been initiated during the previous strategy. What we mean is that important laws, bylaws, important strategic documents were adopted only after the document was publicly consulted with people, only after the criticism of the people, only after the feedback was provided from the people to the government. And this mechanism is expected to be expanded. So now we are expecting that even more and more documents, be it at the Republican level, be it at the regional and local level, first will be publicly discussed with people, and only after that it will be adopted as an obligatory document, be it a law or be it a bylaw. This is very important. And the good thing in this first priority area is that electronic platforms are to be implemented so that all what we have said above will be closely monitored by our people openly. And another good thing is that people will be able, through these electronic platforms, contribute on with their proposals on increasing the efficiency of the reforms and on on getting a feedback. And we, as a development strategy center, we have a goal to collect all these opinions, to collect all these feedbacks, analyze, and then send it to the appropriate government officials so that they take measures on the implementation of these issues raised by the community. In the next slide, you will see the second priority area goals. And in this, I should mention that during the implementation of the strategy of actions, the previous document, state has noticed several important aspects that it needs to reform further. And one of them is, as you can see, protecting property rights. This was a very good challenge for the state during the previous document. Therefore, this is one of the main priority goals in this current document. And therefore, state is willing to increase the protection of property rights by limiting the illegal interference of state bodies in property relations. So, of course, this has many positive effects. It will hopefully, first of all, increase the investment environment in a better way, so that people have more trust. The potential investors, of course, will be more ensured that whenever they invest, their property is properly protected by the state, be it in a remote area or be it in the center. This is an important principle that the government, the state, is going to prioritize during these reforms. Another important goal is creating a new image of law enforcement agencies and direct their activities to effectively protect the interests, dignity, rights, and freedoms. This is a very important area of reforms, because there were issues when people were not happy with the activities of law enforcement agencies. There were some cases of infringement, for example. Therefore, we should also note that people always get to know any infringement of rights or, let's say, interests due to the openness policy Uzbekistan is carrying out currently, due to the freedom of media, because of the activities, the activeness of the society currently. Because whenever they face a problem, whenever they face an issue that needs to be solved very urgently, they use social networks openly. They have an access to government officials on these issues, on these concerns, and therefore this is currently the law enforcement agencies that should be very much active in protecting the rights of people and dignities of people. Therefore, now the strategy foresees even more openness in their activities, and the good thing is, again, more and more electronic platforms will be implemented in their direction, so that people get maximum comfort when dealing with law enforcement agencies. The next one, a very important one, is ensuring timely execution of court orders and the orders originating from other state bodies. So again, this was a challenge during the implementation of the previous strategy. So people were protected by court and by others, but whenever they had the decision, it was sometimes difficult to execute those decisions. Now state is prioritizing that it will take even more effective measures so that the decisions of the courts are executed on time, properly, so that the people get the legal protection on time. Developing an active civil society among citizens by fostering respect and compliance towards the law is another goal. By that we mean that state will take even further actions in raising the legal awareness of people, so that they know their rights, they know what to expect, what to demand from the state officials, from those who are responsible to implement the reforms. Of course, this will help to this will help to increase the efficiency of ongoing reforms, because people will be openly, let's say, criticizing certain institutions, certain government officials, and this will lead to increasing their, of course, liabilities towards their work, and of course this will lead to even more openness in their activities. Dear ladies and gentlemen, this is very short about the first two directions, and if you allow us, the next speaker will continue. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you. Thanks so much for your exhaustive presentation, so much detail, because it's not only in my personal opinion, but as ambassador of the country, I would reiterate that those explanations, how the policies are today formulated in Uzbekistan, are very important, especially in our relations with the European Union and European friends and partners. If you allow me, then I will pass the floor to our another speaker, Dr. Umit Abidkhajaev, who is Director for Institute for Forecasting and Macroeconomic Research. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Umit Abidkhajaev. Currently, I serve as Director for the Institute of Forecasting and Macroeconomic Research, which is under the Ministry for Economic Development and Poverty Reduction. Basically, our institute is dealing with macroeconomic research, but also we're focusing on the regions. By regions, I mean the specific administrative divisions of Uzbekistan. We are dealing with writing guidelines for the regions, how to set up the development programs. We also estimate at industry level the effectiveness of the reforms, and etc. Basically, as Gorka mentioned, the strategy is new, and it also incorporated the feedback which we received during the last 5 years, and it provides a vision for the next 5 years as well. And in terms of economy, the main vector or the main principle which will guide us is that the state will be leaving its share in the economy, so it will be improvement of the private sector, and the economy will be led by private sector. This is number one. Second is the main target which we set in the economy is it will be, we aim to increase it to 1.6 times in terms of GDP. And to do that, in terms of industry, we need to achieve the growth of 1.4 times. And we're planning to increase the digital economy 2.5 times, reaching it to $4 billion. Do we have enough resources to do that? If you look at in terms of production function, where we have technology, we have capital and labor. In terms of labor, it's we can say it's quite a young nation. More than 60% of population are youth. And if we manage, if we are successful to equip them with the necessary skills, by skills I mean in terms of languages, in terms of digital skills, in terms of worldview, I think that task can be accomplished. In terms of capital, the guarantees for the capital is increasing year by year, especially related to the property, related to the land issues. This guarantee is increasing. I think this will give confidence for the investors as of today, and confidence for the tomorrow also to develop their business, because the most important thing we think for the government is to create this enabling environment, this condition, so that people have confidence in today, so they to unleash that creative energy. Or as we say, according to Schumpeter, to create this creative destruction. Because when we have this today's businesses, and of course some of them change, and tomorrow they create a new businesses, and then this is how we can achieve the growth. In terms of major points, of course, so we know from economy that infrastructure is quite important, and in this sense, we're also focusing on improving the infrastructure, particularly in terms of highways. We're looking at creating or building additionally 70,000 kilometers. The same is true for supplying the water pipelines. We're planning to build 15,000 kilometers of their long. And then another important point is that the attention will be given from the center to the peripheries, to the regions. So this is one of the major differences from the previous years, because we know, as Elrika mentioned, we want to have this bottom-up approach, because if we have a good planning, if we have good coordination at the center, but we need the energy which is at the bottom levels to be unleashed, and that will create lots of value added. In terms of gender issues as well, in economy we pay a great attention, so this will be emphasized in the next 5 years. According to the plan, we are planning to educate and to teach more than 700,000 women and girls to specific professions, so they can make living on their own, be more independent. The same is we're planning to reduce the unemployment among women and girls twice. This is that also as a plan. In terms of general social security aspects, we have what we can call maybe a 5-3-2 plan. It's in the next 5 years. We're planning to reduce poverty twice, working on 3 directions. First is entrepreneurship, second is education, and third is social security, because at the end of the day, at the beginning of the life and at the end of the life, each of us needs social security, so this will be provided and guaranteed by the state. And I think the most important aspect which a government should provide is, of course, not to building the company and not to build a new job places. This is a job for the private sector, but to ensure macroeconomic stability, that background. And here, of course, inflation is one of the most important points. We aim to reduce inflation by 2023 to 5%, and which is quite important and which is quite a difficult and formidable task, given that we have this worldwide upward inflationary pressure. And if you look at its components, you have imported inflation, you have inflation due to higher wage rates. The moment you increase credit and loan booms to the economy, it also gives upward pressure. But this is quite a formidable task. Last year, we were able to reduce it to just under the 10%. And in terms of tax rates, for the last 5 years, the tax rate was significantly reduced. We're also planning to continue to reduce it. For example, if you look at the banking sector, if you look at telecommunications, if you look at finance sector, there is some good work to be done in terms of reducing the profit, and this in itself will serve as a transmission channel for the companies. They can have access to cheaper capital. And in terms of VAT, it was already reduced to 15%. It's also going to be reduced to 12%. So in this sense, it also will help to improve the consumption as well. And also, as I already mentioned, we need to synchronize our educational sector with the job market, because if we prepare a student for the jobs which exist in the market today, they will not be ready for the jobs of tomorrow. In that sense, what's happening, before 2016, there was only 9% of the population covered by higher education rate. Now that 9% became 28%, and then we plan to achieve it at minimum 50% population. So in that sense, what the government did, it just allowed for the new private universities to appear and to provide students to the job market. Of course, in the job market, they will be sorted out, and when there is competition, the education will improve, and it will affect the quality as well. So at the end of the day, we hope it will give us this 1.6% times growth, and similar things about investment. And as Ulrika mentioned, one of the most important points will be the strengthening of this private property protection, which will unleash that creative energy which I mentioned. So basically, this is in short, but in general, the economic part of the strategy, it includes 133 measures. So in detail, you can also get acquainted with this of the blue and violet books. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abid Khajaev. Thank you for your detailed and very interesting presentation. Ildoraki, the floor is yours. Please continue.
Yes, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to continue further on the upcoming reforms. So my colleague, Mr. Abid Khajaev, talked about the investment environment that Uzbekistan is going to achieve. For example, one of the digits that we need to note in this is that Uzbekistan is willing to attract over 120 billion US dollars within these upcoming 5 years, and the state is willing to is willing to attract more than 70 billion of foreign investment. So out of 120, it is expecting that 70 will be foreign investment. Then another aspect of reforms is reforming capital markets of Uzbekistan. This is the area that needs a huge development. That's why if you look at the numbers, current turnover is $200 million US, but the state is willing to increase it to $7 billion US. So next slide, please. Here, what I should note is the state is willing to attract 12 million tourists through the Travel Across Uzbekistan program. And we should note that during these last 5 years, Uzbekistan has opened to the world, has abolished several bureaucracies to enter the country, to leave the country. That's why now it is building an image of a tourist-friendly country, because it has a lot to show to the world. It has a huge history. It has lots of objects or historical ancient objects that it could be proud with to show to show to the tourists, including European tourists who are very active in our region, especially in Uzbekistan, and we're hoping that they will be even more active due to the strengthening of EU-Uzbekistan relations, due to the strengthening the activities, projects happening between Belgian and Uzbekistan entrepreneurs, because on daily basis we see that European businesses, European policymakers are in Uzbekistan on different type of aspects, be it entrepreneurship, be it security issues, be it ecology, economy, social issues. So of course people are very happy that the European partners, European colleagues are changing the face of New Uzbekistan, image of New Uzbekistan, and there is more trust towards these reforms and towards this openness, transparency policy in Uzbekistan. And in the next slide, I would like to highlight that, of course, in the social sector, what Uzbekistan is willing to improve is educational aspect, because if you look at the goals stated in the strategy, the state is willing to reform its educational system, starting from the very bottom level, the preschool education level, then the school system, then of course the higher educational system. As a result, it is going to build even more kindergartens, even more preschools, and higher educational institutions. Because if you look at the slides, now the coverage of preschool education is 67%, but the state is willing to increase this number up to 80% within these 5 years. How it is going to do that? It's going to develop the private partnership agreements between entrepreneurs, so that they build more educational schools and facilities on preferential rates. And because Uzbekistan is opening up, including the educational system, this is another very important area for business community of European countries, because to establish European schools, to establish be it kindergarten, be it higher educational institution, because Uzbekistan is willing to increase the private educational systems at of the higher education level at least to 50 out of 200. So that's why we would be happy to talk more about this in the future, because human capital development is one of the main, as you can see, directions of upcoming reforms. So next slide, please. Increasing the share of private sector in health services to 25% is another priority area of upcoming reforms. Then increasing by 2026 the number of non-governmental higher educational institutions, as I mentioned, to at least to 50 is another important area. Then another high goal is, as you can see, is improving the position of the Republic of Uzbekistan in the Global Innovation Index and entering the top 50 countries by 2030. Of course, it needs lots of reforms. It needs lots of challenges to face. Therefore, the country is ready, as you can see, by putting it as a main one of the goals of the strategy. Means that the state will carry out all relevant activities to accomplish this goal, because all the goals are very closely monitored, not only by our civil society, but by the president, by the government, and international community, as a result of open databases that Uzbekistan now is establishing. The fifth priority area, if you go to the next slide, please. Here is the next slide. Here, ensuring the elevation of, as you can see, spiritual values through developing those institutions tasked with their stewardship. So some of the examples would be here the carrying out of the project of Nation of Readers. So Uzbekistan will be carrying out decent amount of work so that people read more books, so that they get modern knowledge from the books. This is very important because some of the people have been concentrating more on different other activities rather than reading a book. But we want to change this, and we want our people to read more books, as is the culture in European countries. Of course, we know it very well. Therefore, of course, in this aspect, people will be reading hopefully more European authors' books, so that they get the modern life style. Then another goal is in-depth study and widespread promotion of the rich scientific heritage of our great ancestors, as you can see, is in goal 73. Then encouraging an atmosphere of inter-ethnic harmony and inter-religious tolerance in society. This is important for Uzbekistan because Uzbekistan consists of different nationalities, different religious people, and it is very important for the country so that they live in peace, so that tolerance is ensured in the country. Therefore, the state is willing to support these centers which help people to get to know more about the cultures of different nationalities in Uzbekistan. Another important aspect in this is developing further the studying and promotion of the history of Uzbekistan. Sixth priority area, if you go, here is the approaching global challenges through the lens of our national interest. This priority area, as you can see, has identified several important concerns of Uzbekistan. First is ecology, because ecology is important for the country, for the region, due to the Aral Sea problem in the region. And the president of Uzbekistan has talked about it at the General Assembly of the UN, and as a result, world community started paying more attention to this global problem of Aral Sea. And under the very tight support of UN, now Uzbekistan has established a trust fund to develop the Aral Sea area, and lots of projects are being carried out in that area to support people, to increase their living conditions. Then, of course, Uzbekistan is, and it is going to carry out projects to make the environment even more green. Uzbekistan's president initiated Green Space Project, and it's very widely implemented throughout the whole country. And lots of parks are going to be established, and lots of trees should be planted in the upcoming 5 years. And of course, it is very much important, especially those who know the climate of Uzbekistan, the climate of the region. It's very hot in summer, and this once again shows that there are problems that needs to be resolved in the ecology sector. Another important area is here creating new jobs and increasing incomes, thus reducing poverty by at least twofold by the end of 2026 is another very important priority for the country. Then, of course, one of the other challenges of the society is the corruption issue. That's why, as a goal of, as you can see, 84, identifying areas and sectors prone to corruption is another goal for the country to achieve. That's why lots of digitalization works are being implemented in Uzbekistan. Lots of areas identified already where human factor plays a role. So the state is eliminating all these aspects, so there is less human factor involved. The seventh priority area, the next slide please, as you can see, is it talks about the security, defense, foreign policy issues, and some of the examples I would like to give is strengthening the rights of citizens in the area of personal freedoms. To receive and import information is one of the goals in this area, because we should note that Uzbekistan has created opportunities for media to write, to criticize the government, to criticize the activities of certain people. Now they are doing it very freely, and even the community, the active people are also posting lots of posts about the reforms on their communities, and censorship has been abolished in Uzbekistan. Therefore, still there are threats that needs to be regulated in terms of the information that people are receiving due to the false information that they are receiving, and thus the state is willing to protect especially the youth from these negative effects of information inflow and outflow. Because the state realizes that if you censor certain type of information, people will fill in that space with different, maybe bad information. Therefore, it is very much important issue to be more active in stressing the rights of citizens in the area of personal freedoms to receive and impart information. The next important issue here is increasing the role of the country as an equitable international entity, because of this openness and transparency reforms in Uzbekistan implemented within these last 5 years. Uzbekistan has become the center for initiatives at the not only at the Republican level, but at the regional, at the international level. It is initiating certain projects, initiatives, and the good thing is that, of course, our partners, including European partners, are supporting those initiatives, and they help us to carry out those initiatives together. And therefore, as a foreign policy priority, it is willing to expand these initiatives and expand the geography of partners. Because of these globalization issues, Uzbekistan is willing to cooperate with even more partners, by not only by limiting itself only with several countries. So Uzbekistan is ready to go and conclude more mutual cooperation agreements with many other countries who are ready to cooperate and establish certain activities in Uzbekistan. So it's not limiting itself only with several countries. Therefore, as you can see, as one of the other goals is achieving the World Trade Organization membership is set as a priority for Uzbekistan, and the state is carrying out activities, and you know how complex activities should be done to achieve the membership of WTO, be it legal, be it technical level. So Uzbekistan, in close cooperation with our European partners, they are reviewing legislation, they are reviewing institutional framework of Uzbekistan to achieve WTO membership as soon as possible. So that's why we will be hoping even further that European partners will be supporting Uzbekistan more on these issues, because Uzbekistan is ready to modernize its legislation, to, of course, carry out specific institutional legislative reforms to achieve the membership of WTO as soon as possible. Then, of course, Uzbekistan is willing to work more on developing and enhancing strategic messaging to provide an accurate image of our country in the world community, because this has been a problem, of course, in the past. But now Uzbekistan, at all level, the institutions are publishing more and more information on their activities, more and more information on the statistics with regard to the development of Uzbekistan. Therefore, because of these publications, because of this openness, of course, it has positively affected on the image of Uzbekistan. Therefore, Uzbekistan is willing to do more on this on these aspects. And here I should note that we, as a development strategy center, is also ready to provide people, researchers, business people on the reforms carried out in Uzbekistan on a variety of aspects. Whenever you express your interest that you need a certain information about Uzbekistan on specific topics, you could, of course, refer to the Development Strategy Center. You have our contacts in the distributed materials, and you feel free to contact us. And depending on the topic, we can come make a presentation, or you could come to Uzbekistan, we could give you more information there. And of course, because of these latest changes that we have become even closer due to video conferencing issues, we are ready to organize these video conferencing events, and we would be happy to give you even more on specific details of ongoing reforms, because we will be closely monitoring the implementation of this strategy. And whenever you have even more suggestions to increase the efficiency of reforms, we are also ready to get the feedback from you. And we would be the point to address these issues. Thank you very much for your attention. I would once again like to thank you for coming to our event, for watching our event online, and we will be hoping that you will be following the activities of the Development Strategy Center in our social networks, so that we will be giving more and more on the different aspects of reforms carried out actively in Uzbekistan. Thank you very much.
Let me thank you once again on behalf of our embassy, the audience, all the participants online and offline, both of you. Congratulate and say words of appreciation for such a detailed and very useful information on the stage of development of our country. If you allow me, I would also like. To ask the audience if there are any questions or comments from the participants of this event. Yes, please.
I'll just speak like this. I have a question for Mr. Abid Khajayev.
Yeah, the mic is coming. Please introduce yourself. Huh?
So, the Aybek Shaykhov, I'm the Secretary General of European Uzbekistan Association for Economic Cooperation for Business. Are there any mechanisms in place for third-party monitoring of the progress of that the government is setting out in this agenda? So, or does the government rely only on internal capacity? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in terms of third-party monitoring, if you mean NGOs, then of course we have Development Strategy Center, which they do this kind of monitoring, and we are just a think tank, but as a government, they report quarterly and maybe even monthly about the reforms done and things accomplished to the center as well. But also we rely a lot on mass media and journalists in this aspect, because at the end of the day, when you have this accountability, as you mentioned, so there is a specific schedule of having scheduled press briefings and meetings with mass media, which also gives you, I would say, a positive pressure to perform. And on the other hand, you also we have lots of international organizations as well, which are now present in Uzbekistan, and you also have lots of interaction with them. We explain how we see things and how we evaluate them, and you have this feedback on how they see things. On the other aspect, we're also putting lots of efforts on this independent evaluation of reforms, for example, similar as it is very similar in international financial organizations. For example, at the World Bank and ADB, you have what's called independent evaluation group or independent evaluation unit, where there is a part of organization which reports directly to the president or to the board of directors, and they have quite impartial evaluation of this. In this aspect, for example, we can see that maybe it's not like third party, but Chamber of Audit, for example, it from time to time it also conducts its own analysis about how things are done, and so I think this would serve as a good monitoring and accountability mechanisms. But on the other hand, I think it's quite one thing is to evaluate how things are and how they could be done better. On the other hand, how to design the mechanisms which will make sure that the message which you want to do, the actions which you want to do, that really penetrates to all levels. And in this aspect, one of the new thing is I would call what we in Uzbekistan call governor's assistant. It's kind of a new mechanism, how it works. For example, we have information, everything is over here, but imagine an agent which is present here, and he just goes to each of you and explains all the opportunities in terms of how could I say, what kind of credits you can get, what kind of loans you can get, and what kind of opportunities you have from the government if you want to learn, what kind of free of charge services do you have. So we created this system, it's now we're calling it Assistance of the Governors. It's more than 10,000 people across Uzbekistan. They all do the monitoring of the people in their own small districts. This district is called Mahalla. So in a sense, in the previously you have this high name programs and all these plans, and then you execute it at the ministry level. Now this mechanism, which was created less than 2 months ago, you have these people, they all go, they cover for themselves around, let's say, 2,000 people or 3,000 people, and one person goes to almost each house and explains, okay, this is the difference, this is the update, this kind of opportunities you have if you want to study, if you want to get a job, look around. And so this is, it kind of serves as a catalyst for these reforms. And at this level, you can already see the people who kind of gives their feedback, and we can see what is working and what's not working. And now I just reminded about this third-party monitoring. We can talk about the World Bank. The World Bank's program, Listening to Citizens of Uzbekistan. They do this survey on a monthly basis. They evaluate, okay, how reforms are affecting people. They have this baseline estimates, and you have this end-line estimate. You can do what we call the DID analysis, the difference in difference, for example. What was happening, this especially helped during the pandemic, what's happened before and what's happening after, how this transition is going on. But I agree that we need more of this. For example, when we look at Germany, they have, for example, IFO, Institute for the Forecasting, and they have a business climate index, which gives you almost real-time feedback about how businesses are responding to specific change. For example, you give this information about increase of the minimum wage or decrease in the minimum wage, and you look how businesses are responding. So this is a very valuable tool. The same with employment barometer. For example, you can ask the enterprises, okay, what is your expectation for the next 3 months? Are you going to hire more people or less people? And then you can seek the feedback and use it in the policy making. In central bank, usually this is called market reaction function. Of course, we need more of this, and to do that, specific, how could I say, funding and specific partners is also very important in this aspect. Okay, hopefully.
Please, anybody else? All right. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Leila Batirbekova. I'm representing Traseka, Gazer in 13 countries, and this is very, let's say, it's this new strategy, how it's described, covering a lot of areas, and which is, of course, the most, and undoubtedly, the civil rights and the law. But if we will move more to trade, commerce, and transportation, how is it covered? Maybe it's in third pillar to develop a robust national economy, because I'm actually originally from Kazakhstan, and we are a landlocked country as well. So I just would like, if you have anything, any insights to share, how about transportation and how it will be also growing together with the cargo flow. Thank you.
May I start? Okay, thank you very much. Related with transportation, we understand the importance of transportation, and for this you need to have a good infrastructure. And as I mentioned, the plan is actually including in itself building 70,000 more kilometers of the highway. So this helps to the movement of goods and the services of also the people as well. And on the other hand, it's also related with internet connection as well, because I think it was at the Heathrow airport, if I'm not mistaken, in future the goods will be transmitted, not transported. Yes, so we're moving to the digital economy. In terms of trade, as you might know, Uzbekistan got this status of GSP plus, so we can export majority of goods. I think it was 6,600 goods on zero tariff to EU, but it doesn't mean that we are already capable of doing this. So we need to find the taste of the European consumer. We need to work more on in terms of improving the quality, in terms of packaging and monitoring. And there are also some other aspects which were related to this. And in this aspect, maybe I can also return to Olbekika's question about third-party monitoring related with labor. Of course, so recently it was announced that Uzbekistan is fully free from forced labor. It was actually approved and announced by international labor organizations as well. So this is another, how could I say, a good positive change. And in terms of cargo and transportation, yes, this is important, and I think that developing regional roads, and both in the frame of BRI and in frame of our bilateral roads is also taken into account. But another point which was mentioned already by Ildaraki is also the diplomacy of trade. This economic diplomacy. This also makes a big difference. And also, if we can pay attention, for the last years, we are developing cross-border production as well, which also contributing to trade. Not maybe directly, but also indirectly as well. On the other hand, we understand that infrastructures and building transportation corridors, both in terms of PPP, is quite important. But on the other hand, we need to do very careful both ex-ante and ex-post evaluation as well, because as an infrastructure specialist, when we did analysis of Tashguzar-Bayson-Kumkurgan railway, which is located in Uzbekistan, it's and connecting with the current railroad in Afghanistan, we can see that it affects positively the economy. It affects positively each specific sector. For example, in services sector, it gives high return, then followed by manufacturing, and then a little bit low in agricultural sector. But also, usually you do not see that positive impact is the exact location of infrastructure as well. So it is kind of dissipated across the whole system of the railroad. So in that aspect, we want to make sure that each infrastructure project which we look at, it has a beneficial, how could I say, economic impact to all parties. This is extremely important, especially when you have limited resources. Again.
So my understanding, Alberto, Olivier. Yep.
Voilà. My name is Olivier Riffon. I am a researcher at Diplomatic World, and the question is, Mr. Tolyakov, I point out your goal 98 about the accurate image of your country. Can you precise what do you mean by accurate image? And will your country accept non-governmental actors to contribute to that accurate image?
Thank you very much for the question. This is very important because we should note that due to the lack of information, for example, in the past, in the world indexes, Uzbekistan's position was not appropriately stated, because these agencies, of course, search for information, but because they face certain problems when getting those informations, the positions of Uzbekistan in these world indexes was not accurate. Now, because of the openness policy being carried out in Uzbekistan, each ministry is publishing lots of information on their websites, on their social networks. They are on daily basis reporting on these important achievements on media, on TVs. We even have special venues. These are different venues, state venues, NGOs, and third-party venues where state officials come and report to the audience, which are live, which are transmitted to many other institutions. So, which means because of this flow of information, now those who are evaluating the efficiency of reforms and because of the availability of the main statistics of the reforms, these international organizations are assessing, their assessments are much accurate currently. This is important to increase the positive image of Uzbekistan. Additionally, whenever they need more information, be it a researcher, be it any other person who is interested in Uzbekistan, they ask directly these institutions what kind of information they need, and they are provided with this information if they can find it online, because now most of the information is available online. Therefore, this is a work which will be carried out in a complex way, not only by ministries, not only by embassies, for example. Of course, it needs a complex approach, including the friends of embassies, including the friends of ministries, be it an expert, be it an ordinary citizen of a certain country. This will be done through that. Then, of course, tourism, building a tourism-friendly country, initiating projects like ambassador of tourism, for example. This also affects on the positive image of Uzbekistan. And the reforms, like opening up to the world, abolishing visa requirements to enter Uzbekistan, is another very practical aspect of this positive image making. And Uzbekistan is ready to cooperate with many other institutions, be it private, be it governmental, towards this, towards reaching this goal, this making positive image. So that's why this is another opportunity that we could cooperate, especially taking into consideration your activities as a diplomatic world magazine. We would be happy to go further and do more paperwork, homework on these aspects to positively affect the image of the country. Thank you.
Please.
Yes, Alberto from Diplomatic World and the Brussels Uzbekistan Friendship Group. Two questions. First, in terms of addressing global challenges, could you briefly comment on the role of Afghanistan in Uzbek foreign policy in this new phase? And second question, you state in the slides that you intend to deepen integration processes with the Eurasian Economic Union. Does that mean that you're seeking to upgrade from observer to full member?
Thank you. Thank you for these important questions. Yes, in our strategy, there are priorities in terms of Afghanistan, just like you mentioned. Afghanistan is our neighboring country. Of course, the regime has changed there, and we should note that the country looks at Afghanistan as at the nation of it as a brotherly nation, and therefore Uzbekistan is very much interested in the peace in Afghanistan. That's why Uzbekistan is working with many other international community, foreign partners, foreign states, to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan, because otherwise there would be other negative effects. If, for example, world community does not support Afghan people, they may switch, let's say, to overcome the poverty, to overcome let's say the food security that they really need for their people. They may switch to other negative, let's say, negative directions to support their own nation. That's why Uzbekistan is positioning itself as a negotiator for assisting the people of Afghanistan to stabilize the situation, to keep the peace in Afghanistan. And Uzbekistan has also hosted several important talks, several important conferences on Afghanistan issue, and very importantly, world community supported these events in Uzbekistan, organized by Uzbekistan's government, and important, of course, agreements were reached during those events. That's why, once again, Uzbekistan is interested in the peace in Afghanistan, in the stabilization of there. That's why it is asking the world community not to leave Afghanistan alone. Otherwise, there could be humanitarian problems, there could be poverty, there could be a very stagnation, and this could, in the end, affect negatively, not only towards Uzbekistan, but to the region and to the world. This is a world problem. And as for the Eurasian Economic Union, of course, as a goal 97, it is stated that integration, it will deepen integration processes, the country. The president has specifically said that this is a priority of the Uzbek parliament, whether or not we want this membership to this union. And as a result, lots of parties, be it private, be it governmental, they are doing research on the positives, negatives of joining to this union. And they are regularly submitted to the parliament, to the government, so that they can assess these outcomes very deeply. And they are, of course, this issue is openly debated on TV between members of the parliament, between government officials, between activists. So there are different views back in Uzbekistan. And therefore, we think the parliament, it is right, that it was a right decision that parliament, the members of they are the representatives of the people, that's what they will decide. But of course, due to the recent changes, this is another challenge to do more research on the on joining this union. So there will be even more now research on which will include these new changes happening currently, and the parliament will take the last decision. But what we should note that in this goal, it specifically stated that Uzbekistan is willing to get the membership, WTO membership. It's specifically stated, but it is still considering joining the Eurasian Economic Union. So, if you want to add, yes.
Yeah, thinking before joining or deepening the integration with specific organization, we also think, and also from the economic point of view as well. For example, the supervisor of my professor, he's an economic Yoshino in Japan, but his supervisor was Sir Alan Walters. He was an economic advisor to Margaret Thatcher, and he always was explaining me that he was kind of against of Britain's joining to the EU, and he was lots of proposals about that. At that time, he was not right. After the Brexit, it seems he was right. So it depends. There are different analyses. So similarly with EU, there are different think tanks doing their own analysis. For example, the German economic team, they also have provided their kind of analysis, and you can see sector by sector differences, what kind of impact it will be. So our main aim is to make sure that, of course, we want competition, we want improvement of the quality of the goods, and you want free movement of goods and services and labor across the region. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it is comes with minimum shock and with maximum benefits. So to do that, we need all different types of analysis. There are some analysis which shows specific sectors going to win, but specific sectors will go through pain. So you want to also minimize that. So at least you need to get prepared. You need to make sure that some mitigating measures are there, and the wisdom is there, and how to get those things right. And as Elroka mentioned, you need to constantly update and you constantly correct your assumptions which we are making, whether it will be computer general equilibrium modeling, whether it will be GTAP, or whether it will be just a gravity model. You always need to make sure that you start with weaker assumptions, and then you want with strong assumptions, and you want to make them weaker and weaker and more realistic. And at the end of the day, provide very close to realistic pro and cons, so that parliament and decision makers will do some critical analysis and then make their choice. So that's why, as you mentioned, it might take a little bit more time, and as many parties will be involved, the better it is, because the truth will be revealed to many. Yeah.
Yes, please. Mike? Nika.
Yeah.
Roy, you are the next. Okay.
Nick Powell from EU Reporter. You talked earlier in the presentation about Mahalla, which, as I understand it, is the traditional idea of the community to which one belongs. Could you perhaps say a little bit more about its importance to the Uzbek sense of identity, and also how and why you see it playing such an important role in bringing popular participation and support for the plans that you have been outlining?
Thank you. Thank you for asking this question, because Mahalla, Institute of Mahalla, is important for Uzbek community. Why? It's because Mahallas are self-governing bodies. We say they are very much independent from the state bureaucracy. But we should note that Mahalla has needed more power, be it the power, financial power, be it the power to contact people, to solve the issues of the community. Mahalla is the very bottom level of the community. In Uzbek, as a tradition, whenever they have a problem, whenever they have an issue, they don't really want to openly say it, especially to the ministry. They don't want to address it to the ministry level, to the official level. They are very much interested in solving this issue by themselves or by the people, by the neighbors only. So they don't want it to go public, because there are other consequences based on the tradition, based on the culture of Uzbek people. They are very shy, I would say. So that's why President noted the importance of increasing the potential of Mahalla Institute. If people are coming to Mahalla to get a solution to their problem, then this institution should have a financial power, support of the state to resolve that issue momentarily. And they need power so that if the people themselves are not able to address it to the, let's say, ministry level, so that the chairman of Mahalla is able to address it. Because there are some issues that need, let's say, the involvement of more higher officials. Therefore, this system is now closely monitored by the government, and this system is there to be developed within this new strategy. And there are lots of priorities in strengthening the role of Mahalla, like economic development, because every Mahalla is specific, every Mahalla is unique. Some Mahallas specialize in textiling, some Mahallas specialize in let's say, in the agriculture or in other aspects. So the state is willing to identify those driver sectors of those mahallas and support specifically those sectors financially, so that those people who specialize in certain type of activities, they get a financial support from the state. So that's in general what we meant by reforming the Institute of Mahalla. Thank you.
And, if I may add, at the in terms of focus level, I think Mahalla gives us a better granular focus level, because if you look at the district, if it's a cell, Mahalla is like an atom. It's a smaller, and it's more like as Lurka mentioned, it's easier for people to the common wisdom to understand who's actually in need and who has what capability, and it's much easier to do that reform at that level. And as I mentioned, related with Mahalla, there is a new mechanism of governor's assistant is take place. So imagine one person, he will be responsible for distributing all the necessary information related with poverty reduction, related with specific free courses, which are specific knowledge which is required in today's labor market, with 1,000 families, for example. I think is for him, when it's his full-time job, this is something which he can do and focus. If one mayor of the district, he has, for example, 42 mahallas, for him it's physically very difficult to do so, especially with his relatively small apparatus. But here we have around 10,000 assistants of governor, and then if I pedantically and punctually every day I go up and I understand, okay, in this mahalla for which I'm allocated, there are around 100 families which can work hard and which can improve themselves only if the information, for example, related with legislation and everything, communicated to them in a simple, plain language which they can understand, and their awareness of the new opportunities which is created by the strategy, by the new reform, is improved, then it's easier to work with them. So this governor's assistants, they serve as a catalyst at the mahalla level. And personally, at the Institute for Forecasting and Macroeconomic Research, we also choose one mahalla, just for the sake of actually going through this. Like in Japanese, there is a concept of gemba, being there and being at a place. So we just choose this mahalla. It's called Jorobot Mahalla. So people live there. And when we talk about, for example, green economy, and I went there and I'm talking with people, so it's not something abstract concept. So we decided to install a water boiler, solar water boiler at the school of this mahalla. So now all these kids which go from this mahalla to the school, yeah, they use this hot water which is boiled through the solar panel, and then they can go home and they explain to their parents, okay, look, at our school we have this solar water boiler, and then it works without electricity, and this something, there is magic is working. And then their parents, they also will think, okay, so how much it costs? It's not so much expensive, it's so they can buy it, or why is a loan or credit? So instead of just writing it somewhere as an abstract terms and then just distributing it, we're just doing it by, how could I say, doing. I think it's in Bible, in the Goethe's Faust, at the beginning it says, in the beginning there was a word, yeah? And then he crosses and says, in the beginning there was a work or deed, act. So it's a very similar thing. So we're saying, okay, let's do the work, let's do something practical, and then this will itself serve as an example, and it will reach at the mahalla level. Because at mahalla, we are like neighbors. One person talks to another person, then he's to the third person. It's very easy to reach people at the mahalla level. So I think this might work, and we're also already being contacted by world-leading universities, both from the US and from other places, which are very interested in this experience and how this will work out. So I think maybe give us like 5 years. I think it will be a very interesting case from Uzbekistan, how this helped to eradicate the poverty. Yep.
My understanding, Roya, you want to ask some question? Yeah.
I'm from Diplomat Magazine in The Hague. I want to start by telling you how pleasurable it is to see the enthusiasm with which you present the program. It's a very ambitious program, and I see the enthusiasm that you have makes it so lively. I have two small questions. The first one is, what is your assessment of the current world situation? Might it impact your program? I don't know if you have thought about it. And the next question is, point number 5. Point number 5 on the sheet I have here. Does this include religion? Does this include this is a kind of an open invitation to outside religions which are not yet there to come to, that they can have free movement in Uzbekistan? Do I see it right?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your feedback. Of course, this is a strategic document. Before it was adopted, it was assessed by experts, by our internal experts, by external experts. This was, let's say, forecasts are also inside this document, and therefore, just like in other parts of the world, what's happening currently is shaping the economies, the policies of other countries also. That's why it's a challenge for Uzbekistan for its new strategy, and it will affect. But Uzbekistan it will affect on which terms? It will affect, for example, in terms of migration policy of Uzbekistan, for example. That's why in this strategy we also have foreseen these aspects. For example, because we say in goal 86, pursuing safe, orderly and legal labor migration and effective migration policy is another goal to make the consequences of these changes happening in the world easier. So these type of issues, of course, will be closely monitored. The strategy is adaptable. It will be consulted later if the world changes later again. This is what I want to say. And then, as for the religion issues in goal 74, the state is willing to reach this goal because it says encouraging an atmosphere of inter-ethnic harmony and inter-religious tolerance in society. Uzbekistan is a country with more than 130 nationalities, and accordingly there are people with different religion, and Uzbekistan is carrying out measures so that they can have a real religious freedom, because in Uzbekistan religion is separated from the government. Therefore, there are much, let's say, facilities and opportunities to exercise this freedom of religion in Uzbekistan. There are no any restrictions towards that. That's my short answer to your questions.
I think basically, yeah, Ilrik answered all the points. So of course, you're right. All of the things which happening around the world will affect Uzbekistan. It's for sure. It's not only because now it's globalization, but it was always so. For example, my grandfather, he was living in Namangan. It's kind of a small town in Uzbekistan, and he has no.
Actually, it's the second biggest town.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and but he was not aware of what was happening during the Second World War, but it somehow affected that place. He was just baking his bread, and then he went to war, and he participated in the war in 1943, and he was injured in October of 1943, and he was rewarded, and he came back. So everything affects everyone. So from that time, and you're right in this aspect. But we're also envisaging this. For example, from the previous shocks, you can first of all, of course, you will think about the food security. So in that aspect, what we're doing is there was a 200,000 hectares of which were given for the cotton. Now it's moved for the vegetables and for other aspects. So we're ensuring that. And also another point is related with the local capital market as well, because there is estimate that the people have asset savings more than $10 billion, but it needs to be converted to a capital market because they somehow keep it under the pillow. So we want to create a system where it actually helps for economy to grow. And maybe the third point, which I already mentioned, there is of course specific targets for poverty reduction. and based with a training and based with synchronization of the knowledge which are given at the universities and colleges to the one which is required by the world market. Because now there is a trend for digitalization, and you can have a young person who can just stay maybe with his parents and still work remotely in decent markets. So this can also have some mitigating impact as well. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, okay.
Which events you are proposing to invite people in coming months and this year? What is important to attend for the audience of the EU and the neighboring countries? Quite very important.
Uzbekistan has recently hosted a huge conference on terrorism issues. Several hundred people came from all over the world. Next upcoming huge event is Tashkent Investment Forum on March 24-26. This is more business, of course. Then there will be another event, in the mid of summer on connectivity issues, because Uzbekistan has been initiating lots of this type of projects on connectivity. The building neighborly, safe countries surrounding Uzbekistan. That's why connectivity conference will serve to that issue. These are the main ones upcoming.
Yeah, and if I may, on 27th of May, we are also planning to have this big international forum. It will be related to poverty reduction strategies. So poverty reduction strategies. So it will be good, how could I say, place to exchange experiences. For example, we have some good successful cases from China and from other places. So it will be interesting to share those experiences and how it worked and why it worked. In some, for example, if you look at Banerjee and Duflo's books, they had many experiments, but then you have this, how could I say, some factors which were contributing at that place. And they sometimes difficult to just take them as a separate entity and implement in other place. But when we gather and when we discuss it, something new might come out of it. Second is in October this year, our institute, we will hold our usual economic forum for Uzbekistan, and this time the topic will be green economy. As it was mentioned, was one of the major parts for the new strategy covers the green economy, and in this aspect, as an institute, we established a green hub recently. What we're doing it as green hub is we're just accumulating everything related to green economy in Uzbekistan. So it will be at one place. You can reach it, this information. What was the need for this is because I realized that many different organizations across different sectors, they do similar things, but they don't interact with each other. There is no coordination. So we decided why don't we fill the gap, and we create one green hub which will collect all the TA results of all the technical assistance, results of all research in one place, and which will be available for conversion to reality. And we can have this spectrum from all the theoretical aspects, for example, let's say at the level of Jean Baudrillard's simulacra and simulation related with green economy, and on the other aspect it will be something very practical, for example the number of enterprises which actually involved in green economy. So we want to dedicate this forum in October to green economy. Yeah, it covers all aspects of economy related with agricultural sector. For example, we had this forecast about greenhouse gas emissions, and we do some actual estimates. It's related with electricity and its electricity generation and how could I say, improving the electricity efficiency. And also it has to do with our estimates of how carbon border adjustment mechanism affects the trade, and at what aspects, and what is the magnitude, and what is the probability. We have some estimate about that as well. So we want to really focus on this, and we want to gather all the wisdom which is done related to two contexts. One is green economy in context of Uzbekistan. Maybe in the future, if we can also interact, we can increase it, make it larger for Central Asian economies as well, because I understand that in Europe people like to look at our region as a more like a Central Asia, a bigger region. So this might be our next step as well. Thank you.
Well, if there are no any other questions, maybe last words from me. For any potential explanations, there are some handouts. You must probably see them. I would like also ask the audience to give good round of applause to our speakers. It was wonderful presentation, one of the best on my mind and my memories. Thank you so much. Last, the invitation for the cup of the Uzbek tea. So thank you.